Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I want to show you how to perform one of the most commonly forgotten home maintenance tasks, which is flushing your water heater. Forgetting to flush your water heater at least once a year can cause the sediment that builds up at the bottom of the tank to reduce the efficiency of the tank or even corrode the tank, both of which are going to lead to expensive repair or even replacement costs. To get started, you'll need to flip the breaker off at the panel for an electric water heater, and for gas water heaters, you'll need to close the valve on the gas line. The water heater I have is electric, so this video's example will be done on an electric water heater. However, other than how to turn on or off the water heater, the flushing process for gas and electric water heaters will be relatively the same. Next, you'll want to find the cold water supply valve and turn it to off. The top of your tank will usually say which line is cold and which is hot. Follow the pipe that is marked cold coming out of the heater to be sure you shut the correct valve. Once you close the valve, you can connect a garden hose to the drain spigot that's at the bottom of the heater. Make sure it's tight, but don't over tighten it. After the hose is secured, run the other end of the hose to either your yard, driveway, street, or a floor drain if one's installed in your house. Before we begin to drain the water out of the tank, we need to allow a way for air to get into the system, or else it will cause a vacuum that can create a ton of pressure and damage your tank or the water lines. To do this, we'll need to turn on the hot water side of any faucet that's in your house. Now that our garden hose is connected to the water heater and a faucet is open inside the house, we can begin to slowly open the drain valve. To open it, you'll want to use a flathead screwdriver and rotate the dial until the water begins to flow freely. After the drain valve is open, check the end of your hose, but be extremely careful as the water coming out of the hose will likely be very hot. If you don't feel comfortable with draining the tank while there is still hot water inside, I recommend turning the hot water faucets on in your house to drain the hot water, or you can wait for the water to cool down after you shut down the system. If the water is draining extremely slowly, you can also flip the pressure release valve to the open position to allow the water to flow a little more freely. After the tank is fully drained, you'll want to agitate any sediment that was not drained but was settled at the bottom of the tank. To do this, you'll want to turn on the cold water supply valve and burst for 15 to 20 seconds and allow the water to drain again. One way to gauge how dirty or clean your tank is and how much sediment has built up in your system since the last flush is by draining the water into a bucket. This will allow you to see what's been sitting in the bottom of your tank and what could possibly cause damage to your tank if left untouched. You'll want to continue the agitation and flushing process until the water coming out of your hose is crystal clear. Now that we've flushed the tank and cleared the sediment out, double check that your cold water valve is shut and then begin closing the drain valve with your flathead screwdriver by rotating the dial until the valve is completely shut. After you're sure the valve is closed shut, unscrew the water hose from the drain valve. Before we turn the water supply to the heater back on, open up a couple faucets in your house to prevent any backed up air from damaging your water lines or the water heater itself. Slowly begin to turn the cold water valve back to the open position and double check there's no leaks coming from the drain valve. If you open the pressure release valve earlier in the flushing process, be sure that you flip it back to the closed position. After the tank is full, be sure to open up the hot water faucets at multiple spots in your house to drain out all of the air in the system. Keep the faucets on until the flow of the water is steady and no longer sputtering. Once the flow of water is steady, turn off all the faucets and then head back to your electrical panel to flip the breaker on if it's an electric water heater, or for a gas water heater, relight the pilot light and set the dial back to the desired temperature. Now there's a lot of different opinions of how frequently you should flush your water heater, and I personally believe that you should flush it once every year. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.